One. Welcome to the latest episode of the Coleman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. I have a health and I'm going to say fitness expert, an online trainer. We have Sarah Murta all the way from Galway, but also hails in between the likes of Achill and Castlebar, but underlying Galway, Coleman, because that's where I'm from. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I suppose I brought you on to this because someone that's in the know, you're putting out some great content right now. And I suppose I want you to tell the listeners just, I suppose, a 60, 90, 2-minute pitch in relation to who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
So I'm Sarah from Galway, as you said. I am an online coach, personal trainer, I suppose maybe content creator could be thrown that out there as well. I qualified as a personal trainer 2 years ago now. Always been interested in fitness, kind of thought that there was maybe a gap in the fitness industry, especially when I started in the gym. There was no one kind of telling the truth about fitness, I suppose, or making it like a bit simpler or accessible to everyone. And I thought maybe that I could somehow make a difference to at least one person. So started my online coaching maybe about 1.5 years ago. And then January last year, I just decided to start creating content and people liked it. And yeah, and here we are.
There you go. And what's not to like? So the first topic that I definitely say I want to, I suppose, discuss with you is, for people that have suffered with it before, which more often than not is the majority of people, it's like either overeating or binge eating. Sometimes it happens at Christmas. Sometimes it may happen because of specific things, or maybe a restriction, but I don't even put any words in your mouth. And it's something that, like, sometimes it's happened. Sometimes, it happens myself. It may happen yourself. And why do you think, I suppose, it happens in the first place?
Well, personally speaking, I feel like it happened to me because a couple of years ago when I started getting into fitness, it was like you couldn't enjoy things. If you were in fitness, if you were going to the gym, it was a strict routine. There was no you couldn't enjoy food, like basically. And I fell into that trap really badly. I labeled foods as good and bad, and there was nothing in between. So anytime I ate any of these bad foods, because I hadn't eaten them in so long, I just basically couldn't control myself around them and slipped into that kind of mindset for years, unfortunately. Overtrained, over exercised, under ate. And then obviously I was hungry. So when I would start to eat, I wouldn't be able to stop. And I would fall into that trap of binging, overeating. Then the guilt would kind of come in. So I would go back to then restricting, overtraining, undereating, and then the exact same thing would happen again. And this would happen weeks and weeks and weeks. And then that turned into years. And it was a vicious cycle.
What were, just to touch on that point, what were the things that you, I'm going to say, lent yourself towards in that binge eating food item or food meal? Like some people often say, I'm going to have this cheat meal. But again, it's kind of going back to good or bad. And we won't be on the same page in relation to touching on not labeling foods is very important. Just having, I suppose, the idea that food is energy and giving you the opportunity to fulfill your body with, I'm going to say, high nutrient dense foods or less nutrient dense foods, but maybe nourishing the soul at a different point in time.
It would be like, I remember when I started, say, like going to the gym a couple of years ago, and like I got my first kind of coach, and it was like, carbs are bad. Like carbs are what cause you to put on weight, all this kind of stuff. So I had completely cut them out of my diet completely. And then, like obviously after a few weeks of not eating any carbs, you have no energy, like you're completely depleted. And then all you're craving is these carbs. So when I would go on a binge, like it could be like pizza, it could be chips, bread, like potatoes, anything, because obviously my body was craving energy because it needed it. I wouldn't necessarily be so bad at like, it wouldn't be like, say, like chocolate and stuff like that. It would just be like normal foods because I was under eating so much. And then like I would then just get into this absolute guilt of, oh my God, like I have completely caved on it. So go back and just restrict, take them all out again and starve my body of them again, which was just ridiculous when I think back on it now, because it's like you're completely depriving yourself of like a whole food group. So of course you're going to lose weight when you cut out that whole food group, but like at what cost? I was just kind of doing the same thing over and over again, not registering with me that this was completely wrong, like, or completely bad. And at the time, years ago, people said it was the right thing to do. So like you just were so confused, like.
Yeah, nutrition myths are things I suppose that definitely would have skewed myself even to
Mm,
to to fad diets, as in either
yeah.
low carb or low fat or vegan or vegetarian. Those are things that I fell into and tried and trialed, and then I suppose getting more nutritional knowledge underneath my belt and then qualifying it. It's the idea that
Mm,
you can eat certain ways, but it just makes it a bit more, difficult if you have a dietary restriction, whether it's on
yeah.
meats, whether it's on dairy, and or anything else. And is that something that you, I suppose, went through yourself? Did you go through the different diets? Did you try them?
Yeah.
Did you laugh at that?
I'm laughing at that. Like, I actually turned vegetarian for a while because I had seen the thing was like, oh, like you shouldn't eat meat, like, and it was so completely went vegetarian. But like it wasn't like I was doing like a proper vegetarian diet. All I was doing was eating fruit and veg. That was it. Like I wasn't there was nothing. Like for breakfast I might have like scrambled eggs and spinach and mushrooms. That would be it. Like, and then for my lunch might be like a salad, and then for dinner it would just be vegetables. Like, of course I was going to lose weight, but like, oh my god, like I was intolerable to be around because I was constantly hungry. Like, obviously, looking back now it's so obvious, but when you're in it and you're doing it, you think this is the right way, and then obviously you're losing weight and people are telling you, oh my God, you look so good because you've lost so much weight. But like, I look back at pictures of myself now and I look terrifying. Like, I'm nearly 6 foot, like, so I can hold weight, but like, yeah, it's wild to think now.
Yeah, and I suppose when you were doing, I suppose, those different trying different diets or even just getting a hold of your own nutrition knowledge, was it something
Yeah.
that your health suffered, or more specifically, is there anything part of your women's health that was, say, struggling at that moment in time? Was there any obvious signs?
Yeah, so I would have lost my period regularly. So as I said, I'm like 6 foot. My healthy weight at the moment, or like normally would be like around the 70s. I had gotten down as far as 60 kilo. And that's like so, like even when I've done photo shoots as well, I never got down to that weight because that is just such an unhealthy weight for me. So like the fact that I'd hit that, and at the time I was like, oh my God, this is great. But like I was constantly tired. I was constantly in bad form. I actually like I never went out for food. Like I would never go out for a meal. I would never let someone cook for me. Like I had such like it had such a hold over me. But I was so good at hiding it that people actually never knew. And there's people going to like listen to this or like watch this that know me that are going to be like, fuck, I never knew that. Like because I was so good at hiding it, you know which is very sad as well, to be honest, when I think about it now. I think about the girl back then compared to now, and I actually feel so sorry for her. It's awful.
So I suppose I know we talked a little bit about yourself and your own, and it's probably because you were so health driven that when we do tend to binge eat, I put me and you in that category of like we're in the real healthy
Yeah.
top 10 percentile if you want to go that far,
Mm.
and we will binge eat on, like you touched on, breads, peanut butter. We would go for
Mm.
cheeses, those things. Why? Because our body craves those nutrients, and
Yeah.
sometimes we don't realize that, but the body's actually so intelligent. But it's
Mm.
sometimes then on the other end of the spectrum with more so clients that you're working with, they will tend to binge eat on what they currently know that is high calorie, that they kind of still enjoy and remember, that have the muscle memory or the brain memory to go, yeah, I'm going to go for that takeaway. That's what helps me. Is that something that you find with different clients that you're working with, Sarah?
Yeah, and they'll kind of like they'll binge on say like chocolate or something like that because they are also in the mindset that they can't have chocolate at all whatsoever. So then they'll like cut it out all the time. And then when they get some of it, they'll be like, oh my God, this is so bad, but I'm just going to keep eating it until like, say sometimes I used to do it as well when I would binge. If I like got like the big share block of chocolate and I might have like one bit of it and I was like, oh, I've just fucked it now. So I might as well just eat the whole thing so that it's gone and out of my mind. And that's what I find what sometimes happens with clients too. Whereas like you can stop at like the first couple of squares and like you haven't ruined everything. Like, you can even still eat the whole bar of chocolate and you haven't ruined anything. It's just you should also be constantly including that chocolate that you love in your diet. So it never gets to a point where you feel like you can't control yourself when you have it. Like, so that's what I found. I was kind of, when you restrict all these foods so much that when you do have them, you can't control yourself eating them. Whereas now I allow myself to eat whatever I want. And 90% of the time, I don't want any of the foods that, like I would always crave like the breads and stuff like that and not be able to control myself. But now I have bread every single day. So it never gets to a point where I'm not able to control myself again, so which is great.
Yeah. And that's, I suppose, you can fill people in. It's literally because you're eating much more balanced meals. You're eating
Yeah.
protein for satiating, whether it's chicken, fish, turkey, eggs, tofu, and tempeh for those who are looking for a protein source. You're eating the likes of the healthy fats, whether it's in the meats or the eggs, or even in dark chocolate on occasions. That are literally things that we need in our diet to regulate our hormones. Like, we have been fear-mongered with, and even it was terrible. It is and was and probably still is terrible. Like, carbs make you fat, or the myths. The fats also make you fat. And the likes of protein, too much of it bad for your kidneys. Nobody really is over protein. Like, I remember going myself, like, I can eat nothing. I can eat nothing now. What am I going to have? I won't eat today. I won't eat now. Water.
Yeah, honestly, and then it's like, oh no, but you shouldn't drink water because out of the tap is bad, out of the bottles is bad because of the plastic. Like, oh my God, like, what are you supposed to eat? What are you supposed to drink? If you it's just like, it's just baffling.
And I love this kind of point, right? Not eating is not a healthy option. And then that kind of leans us towards like fasting. Like, there's all these, I'm going to say, fancy myths, and there are benefits to each one of them, whether it is lower carb, there is maybe some benefits. There is maybe some benefit. There is to the likes of keto. There is benefits to the likes of the carnivore diet and or fasting. But most people, this is only my personal opinion, and ask you now next, is that they don't have enough nutrition knowledge to go into those diets.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, definitely. I think as well, if you're kind of, especially with like keto and stuff like that, again, another fad diet that I had tried, didn't know anything about it, literally said it was like, so you don't eat carbs and you eat lots of fats. So that's what I started doing. And I felt horrific because I just wasn't doing it properly, because I was like, okay, carbs, so fruit and vegetables are carbs. So I can't have fruit and vegetables. So I can only have fats. So like meats and like avocados. And I remember I was in Australia at the time, and like all I was doing was eating meat and avocados, like, and I felt horrific. Like, just because like didn't read up enough into it, just seeing, oh, such and such done a keto diet and lost loads of weight. So, oh, that must be like what you have to do. And it was just, yeah, insane.
Yeah, no, I tried it too. I tried it, and with not enough, but I learned quickly, because if I'm not firing on all cylinders, I'm like, something's not right here. So I was having cacao. I was drinking like a cup full of cacao. I was like, that was starting me off in the day. But I figured out fairly quick that I had to actually reduce down my protein to switch over to the likes of my body running off fats. But like, that's it. Like, it's hard enough for, let's say, people who are into health and into nutrition to read that book. Keto Clarity was a really good book that helped me. I did it for about 6 or 8 weeks, but then I was like, I can't have bread. I can't have potatoes. There's only so much fruit that I can have, which in itself, to me, like, fruit, like nature's candy, lads. Come on, don't cut that out of your life before you other rubbish. Like,
it's hard. It's wild when you think about it. And it does work for some people. Like, I know people that have done it and they're so healthy and amazing and strong. But again, it just not having the carbs, like that was it was really like affecting me, kind of thing. And I was kind of, and I'm very much about like, I'm a convenience-based person. Like, I don't have time sometimes to be like making all my meals and everything like that. So sometimes I'm looking for like a healthy, quick, convenient option. And I just felt like that was just way too much effort, that there was more things that I couldn't eat than could eat, kind of thing. And I was like, no, this isn't for me.
Yeah, anybody can make anything work if you make it work and fit your day. That's it. Whether it's any diet for that matter. But now we've touched on different diets, I want to kind of lean towards, what is your go-to, your absolutely on-the-go, flat out, your on-the-go food item that you're because people are like, how do these people go? Like, so I've kind of discussed that. I really had like a chicken on the bone there and apple. My morning was kind of hectic, and still sipping away on the water here at the same time out of my lovely glass jar. Just must stress that. But you can drink out of anything. Not drinking water is not healthy. So, like, what's your go-to when you're absolutely up to 90 and you're either going from one job to the next, or to one, I'm going to say job to the next, family event or personal,
Mm.
or anything else in between? What's your go-to?
I'm actually quite like simple in the mornings. I like feel like bacon medallions are the most underrated food in the world. And like, it's actually an English muffins. Like that's like literally, and then easy singles cheese. They are like two English muffins. I'll have maybe like 8 bacon medallions and 4 slices of the easy singles cheese. I think it's about 70 grams of protein just for breakfast. And I'll like bring that with me. And that will literally, I could have that maybe like 10 o'clock. And this is actually like a life hack. If you use like the two English muffins and eat one at like 10 o'clock and then maybe eat the other one maybe at like 12-ish o'clock, then it's still like technically breakfast and you still have your lunch and dinner to look forward to. But yeah, I'll run out the door literally eating that. I love eating in my car because I feel like I'm always fecking in it. Like so, and the best thing is like the air fryer. Like just whack the stuff into the air fryer, go get ready in the mornings, come back, it's ready, and then you're just run out the door and that's it. And that's how simple it can be, that simple, like, and then I'll be kind of like pushing my clients as well if they don't have time in the morning to do that. Overnight oats, literally the best thing in the world. Like very handy. You can put anything in it you want and then just grab it and go in the morning. And like it's what I try to always beat into my clients as well. Like the breakfast is literally the most important meal of the day. 100%. Like I will like if you just have breakfast and nothing else, you'd be fine. Like I feel like anyone that skips breakfast are always the people that come to me and say that they can't control their snacking in the evenings.
Yeah, no, I
And I'm
totally
like,
agree with you, Sarah. Skipping
no,
breakfast, like not eating, we'll say that again, is not a healthy option. This
no,
fasting thing, so many benefits for mental clarity, can improve the like
yeah,
your gut health and your digestion. But if you're
yeah,
not over, I'm going to say, on point with your nutrition, you will undereat. You will undereat your
yeah,
breakfast. Most people's problem, they will undereat their lunch. They will have a small
yeah,
little tiny wrap with mayonnaise or something sweet corny in it, which isn't enough
yeah,
to feed the birds. Never mind yourself, who's
yeah,
now in a healthy buzz going into 2025 when people are listening to this. And then they'll have a normal dinner, fair play to you. Cook them, you got that on point. But you're undernourished and you will reach for the biscuits, the chocolates, the cakes that are in the press or at the petrol station where you're filling up and we have to
yeah.
go to put fuel in the car, which then they have you. But if you have had, let's say, your lovely medallion that Sarah has definitely up on our Instagram page, and we'll get that handled very shortly on the exact ingredients and how to make it, how simple it is, and the health of having half at 10 o'clock and half at 12, which I may have to try myself, splitting my breakfast or eat more, eat more itself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And carbs for breakfast. Oh my God, so many, because whenever my clients start off with me, I'll ask them to send me a food diary, and they'll be like, oh, I can't stop snacking in the evening. And I know exactly what it is. It's either that they aren't having breakfast or they are having breakfast and they're having no carb source with their breakfast. So if you find like in the evenings that you're like mindlessly snacking on the biscuits, on the crisps, it's your body looking for carbs because it's so tired. It's hit that slump at the end of the day and you haven't given it an energy source at all throughout the day. So it's like, it's so easy to pinpoint. And then you notice the difference. It's amazing. Like when you start saying to the clients, oh, like just eat a carb source there for breakfast. And then they'll be like, oh my God, I wasn't hungry in the evening. I wasn't snacking. And I'm like, yeah, there you go.
A problem solver is what you are.
Yeah.
Carbs
Yeah.
really solve all life problems. We're much
Honestly.
Word piece
Yeah.
sorted. Sarah says carbs for everybody. Get it in the
Yeah.
morning. Absolute done job to finished.
Yeah. Point blank. That's it.
Well, I want to touch on, right, so a little bit about foods in itself, right? Are there simple, maybe, or just random health hacks that you do on a weekly, on a monthly, or on a regular basis that you do that you would love to share and pass on to people?
Oh my God, I don't even know. Well, I did start yoga and I feel like that's changed my life. So
Yeah.
yeah, because I do find as well, like I wouldn't get very stressed at the time, but I do find if I let it go too long, then I just burn out. And I find like a lot of my clients that come to me as well, like, and they're also very stressed. And then this leads to like the food breakdown in food and all that kind of stuff. Like stress, I think contributes so much. Um, Especially to like people who are weighing and stuff, the scales, everything like that. It just has an awful negative effect on your body. So you need to be doing something for yourself outside of like everyone thinks, oh, it has to be like getting the steps every day, getting your workouts in, all that kind of stuff. You have to be taking time for yourself as well to relax, to de-stress, to all that kind of stuff, because I think that is just the foundation of everything too. Um, especially a lot of people stress eat as well, so they'll look at food as a coping mechanism. So even like, you don't have to do yoga or anything like that. 10 deep breaths. I always remember my coach telling me this, because I wouldn't be able to relax at night before bed. And he was like, just sit in your bed, take 10 deep breaths, and then just go to bed, go to sleep, you'll be fine. And like, it's such a difference. It like brings down your heart rate, like you control your breath a little bit more, and you're just like, yeah, that's just focus on yourself a bit more.
Yeah, I suppose for your busy lifestyle with loads of other people in, I suppose, that same scenario. So slowing down would be something you would definitely do in itself. Are you someone
Yeah.
to get onto or jump on the bandwagon, similar to myself, maybe journaling or writing things down? Is something that you do and add into your healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, so I manifest every morning. I write down, and people do always say, like, they don't want to get into journaling because they don't know what to write and stuff. I literally write the exact same thing every single morning, repeat on repeat. So that, like, because the thing with manifesting is like you have to believe that you already have it. And then I do 100% believe that what you put out, you attract. So I just try to get into that positive mindset. Now, it doesn't happen every morning. I'm not a positive person. As soon as I wake up, bang, like whatever. I feel like sometimes you have to put yourself into that mindset. So I'll just sit down and have the same morning routine every single morning. I'll always get up an hour before I ever have to get ready. And I'll sit down, have my coffee, have my vitamins, and then just write in my journal and manifest. Just what I want for myself or what I want to achieve. And I think it just gives you a bit more clarity. And then every Sunday evening in my journal, I'll kind of plan out my week, roughly, because obviously plans don't always go to plan. um, just like when I'm going to go to the gym, like when I'm going to go get my steps, when I'm going to get my run in. And I feel like once I have the week planned or just a rough plan, it's easier to stick to, and you don't feel so overwhelmed, which is what I try to get my clients to do as well all the time. Like once you plan, you are set up, like you have a successful week.
Yeah. No, I'd be a firm believer in, I suppose, literally, if you do things at random, you get a random result. And that's literally
Yeah.
knowing when you're going to, I'm going to say, gain the advantage of exercise, when you're going to literally have, and what meals. We've touched on, I suppose, that important thing, breakfast. And if it's not the most important meal of the day, it's definitely one of the top three. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Definitely one
Yeah.
of the top three in itself. Would you be someone to incorporate in, I'm going to say, maybe saunas, sea swims, or even, I'm going to say, jacuzzi therapy? You're smiling, so I maybe hit a point to that. Is that my
I love a sauna, and I'm gonna say sauna and sea swim, but I actually don't love the sea swim part. I love when they have
Yeah.
plunge pools because like sometimes like if you go and then the tide is out and you have to run into it, and that's yeah, I'd rather just get straight into a plunge pool. And I try to do it once a week now. Sometimes it doesn't align, but yeah, I love it. Like I definitely in the last like 6 months or so tried to look at minding myself a bit more or doing kind of things that are just going to benefit me a bit more. Because as I said, I'm very bad at relaxing. Like I'm not like a person that can sit down and relax. I always have to be on the go. I always have to be doing something. So I find when I do the sauna and the plunge pool, it really, for that hour, it just really gets me to. It's a really bad habit. I am addicted to my phone. So the fact that I have to go to the yoga for an hour and leave your phone outside, completely switch off. Same with the sauna and the plunge pool. You can't bring in with you an hour of just kind of switching off. I find it really beneficial. Um, yeah, we can't all be perfect, unfortunately. That's my
Yeah,
downside.
that's what it's, but like, right. So I would put myself and yourself in a similar category. We do use our phone for work. So that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons that we constantly have it there. But it is great. And I would find the benefit of that using the sauna on a regular basis, at least once a week myself as well, to have to
Mm,
put it outside because you can't bring it in.
yeah.
You know, I've seen
Yeah.
one man bring it in, and I'd love to know how it went after he came out of the sauna. So the people that are so addicted that they will not leave it outside the sauna for the
Yeah.
15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's just nice, yeah, to be kind of, or even just, sometimes I would always try to be like very engaging in a conversation with someone. But if my phone is there, I'm always kind of thinking, oh, like, is someone messaging me? Because with my coaching, like, I do leave myself very open for any of my clients to contact me at any time during the day. It's just what I have just like, I just want to offer that extra piece of service, I suppose. So sometimes when my phone is there, I'm constantly kind of like, oh, did someone message me or something like that? Whereas like in the sauna, if you go with someone, your phone's not there, you can actually be like really engaged in conversation with them, and just like, or even if you're there by yourself, like you can just sit and flip in silence for an hour and just not have to think about anything, you know, which is great. Like,
Is I think today I'm going to be going to the sauna. I think
yeah, I know. I think you'd rather go.
can I fit it in today? I can. I
Yeah,
can move things. Yeah, perfect. Throw that phone away for half an hour or an hour.
yeah, yeah,
I suppose that definitely would be one of like a major health hack, I suppose, to incorporate in a time when you don't use your phone, because it is addictive, and
yeah,
there is a lot of doom and gloom on it, and that's something that's, you know, as Irish people in general, we seem to even gravitate to that. Our parents
yeah,
gifted that onto us.
yeah,
Due to the fact that we hear about negative things that happen. Someone dies. The first thing that happens when you go back to the home house. Did you hear about
yeah,
so that they died?
yeah, yeah,
That's what
yeah,
happens. The R.I.P. The whole
yeah.
sums up for that.
Yeah, yeah, because sometimes like I will kind of like doom scroll on my phone, but I'm looking for kind of not like so much an escape, but just I suppose entertainment or something like that. And then sometimes it can get very heavy. Now, I have learned in the last year or two, I've unfollowed so many people that I would have like looked up to, but who weren't like a very good person to be looking up to. So I've completely like cleared out my Instagram. And if you do find, it's like a great hack as well, if you are addicted to your phone and you're constantly looking on Instagram and you do find yourself getting down by looking at certain people or things, just unfollow them. Like you have the control to unfollow them. Like, so just do it. Like, especially I would find I was gone down a rabbit hole of comparing myself to other people, and then began realizing that like Instagram is literally just a version of people's lives that they want you to see, you know, so people don't look like that all the time, you know, so they're just putting up their best selves. And if you find that you are comparing yourself to them or their life, just unfollow them, because what's the point? Like,
Yeah,
you know?
and because we're in control of that. The often that
Yeah,
quote that comes to mind is control the controllables. If you're getting
yeah,
upset from that person that you used to be friends with in school, that's after getting married and they show that house and they show the car and the kids and everything
yeah,
else, they're all happy, right? It's
yeah,
not like that all the time. It's great that you really touched on that point.
yeah.
I'd love to ask you, Sarah. So, has there been a point in your life that you've come across, whether it was in any stage of life, that kind of really changed, whether it was getting a coach yourself, whether it was going to a class or getting qualified or improving on your knowledge on nutrition or exercise, that you think, Jesus, I wish I did that sooner, or I recommend this to people?
Yeah, so it was when I actually joined or got my coach, Aina McNamara. So that was in 2020 when I came back from Australia, and I was at the lowest weight. I kind of, when I was in Australia, COVID had hit and all the gyms closed, and I went like into meltdown because I was overtraining so much that I was like, how am I possibly going to keep all this weight off if all the gyms are closed? That's all I was obsessed with, was just losing weight. That was it. And I came home and I had actually seen a girl I'd known who had lost weight with him and whatever. And I was like, yeah, constantly still thinking I needed to lose weight. So contacted him, and I always remember we did like the first check-in, like, and I sent over my weight. And I remember being like, God, I actually haven't gained weight. Like, so maybe I don't need a coach. And was starting to go through this in my head. And I was like, no, 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 stick with it, stick with it. And I told him, oh, I want to lose weight and I want to tone up. But I was like, oh God, when I even hear that sentence now, I'm like, what is wrong with you? And kind of never really told him the whole story. Like never had told him like I had this insane problem with food, like no exercise. But it's like he always knew, which is like really strange because he didn't get me to like track food. He actually got me to step away from using my fitness pal and tracking calories and all that kind of stuff, which was so wild to me. And he actually got me to do my first bulk. So, because I was like, I want to grow my glutes, but I still want to lose weight and I want to be toned. And he was kind of like educating me the whole way through. And yeah, like he actually completely fixed my relationship with food. Like I honestly owe it all to him, however he did it, because it never felt like he was doing it, if that makes sense. And yeah, like I owe him everything, to be totally honest. So
So you would say that coaches, I suppose, massively shortened your learning curves, which you would highly recommend someone else to get, whether it's a business
yeah,
coach or it's a life coach or it's a
yeah,
health and fitness mentor.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I do think as well, you have to be careful about who you're going to get because you have to be following the person. You have to know what they're about. Like, there's a lot of people that have contacted me, like, and I'm not a fit for them and they're not a fit for me. And that's okay. But you have to, because I would have had coaches in the past and they wouldn't have known what to do. It was all just the same, like, carbon copy thing, like, this is your calories, this is what you're on, lose weight, whatever. But he obviously knew that, like, I couldn't possibly lose any more weight without getting incredibly sick. Like, so he just had a way of doing it and showed me that you can eat and be happy and have the body that you want and be fit and all this kind of stuff, like that. Like, food wasn't always the enemy and losing weight isn't always the goal.
What was it that he was saying more so? If you could try and expand on that just a little bit. No, but I'm just trying to get into it my own,
Yeah,
my
I
own
know.
head.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is like, okay, what did he say? What were the words? You could write it down. We have paper and pen. I have my notes open here on my iPhone or my smartphone. I'm going to type it in now. What is this? What could you expand on that point?
I don't know. I suppose he would always kind of ask me why I did something. I found that was like, I would have never reflected on kind of why I wanted to lose so much weight and why I demonized certain foods. He would always kind of be like, why, and try and understand and try and make you understand. And, it was kind of, I think the reason why I want to lose so much weight is because I probably wasn't happy in myself. And then it's kind of like, why aren't you happy in yourself? And it was kind of like, then a few years ago, I was very concerned by what other people thought of me for some reason. Like, nothing, there was no reason behind it. Whereas now I couldn't give a flying F what anyone thinks, and it's like, I think it brings about a different. I wouldn't have been a very confident person a couple of years ago. And I thought that, like, if I was the smallest version of myself, that I would be confident. But it actually was just gone complete opposite. Whereas now I couldn't care less what anyone thinks. I'm probably the most confident version of myself I have ever been. Um, and yeah, I just owe it all to him. Like I did a bulk with him and got up as far as 80 kilo and didn't care. Like, if you had, like, that's 20 kilo more than I had weighed than I started with him. And like, if you had told me that that's what was going to happen when I started with him, I would have been like, oh my God, no way. Like, I haven't, but he did it.
Yeah, that's a huge, I suppose, increase in your weight, and just would, I suppose, emulate that the fact of you were somewhere completely different to where you are
Mm,
right now, and that's okay
yeah,
for just even to just to get the listeners and the viewers to realize that it's okay wherever you are right now, whether it's weight
yeah,
gain or it's, I'm going to say, weight loss. The whole idea of it
mm,
is you can go from where you are to where you want to be over a period of time,
yeah,
and maybe in such a better headspace.
yeah. But it's even like, he made me understand weight and the scales so much. So when I started with him as well, like, he eventually realized that I had the worst relationship with the scales. Like, I would be weighing myself at least 4 times a day. Like, I get up in the morning, weigh myself, I'd eat my breakfast, weigh myself, I'd eat my lunch, weigh myself, constantly weighing myself. And then if I got up in the morning, weighed myself, and if I was a bit up in weight, that was it. It was restricting for the day. That was, and like, there's so many factors that affect the scales that I didn't know about at all whatsoever. And he taught me all that. And like, I at the moment about 72, 73 kilo, but I'm probably nearly the leanest I've been. And then you compare it to a photo when I did my first bulk where I got to 73, which was my highest weight. And like, they're completely different pictures, like completely different pictures. Like, you wouldn't believe it. Like, and you're just like, weight on the scales is just so unimportant and like so unreliable. And it's not until you actually kind of understand it and realize it that, like, I can weigh myself now and I might be up, whatever, and I'll just couldn't care less, straight over the head. And then I'll weigh myself another day and I'll be down. And I'm like, geez, why am I down? Like, it's just, you know,
Not to, this is definitely an important point, I suppose, not to judge your worth from what you actually weigh on numbers on a scale. That's
yeah.
definitely very important.
And like, who's ever going to ask you what you weigh? Would you ever meet someone and be like, oh, how much do you weigh? You know, like,
Yeah.
or even like I used to have an awful problem because I would always have had big legs that would just, it's just my body type. That is it. And for years I tried to get skinnier legs, like whatever. And it would like bother me where when I would go and try clothes on or something like that and I'd be a size 10. Why? Like, why would that bother you? No one asks you what size clothes you are, you know? It's just this, we're just brainwashed into thinking exactly that our worth is based on a number on the scales or what size clothes we are. You know, it's just
Yeah. There's not, and same we could touch on that same point of what qualification or what results you get. I remember that I did terrible in my leaving, so didn't do great. Like it was like no one will ever ask you what you got in your college degrees.
no.
We'd ask you
I
whether you're
tried
straight through or not.
went to college for 3 years and I dropped out, you know, and I worked in Supermax and I worked in Subway, like, and now I am an online coach, you know, I like, you know, I'm definitely didn't take the route that I probably should have, like, but I wouldn't change anything. Like I'm exactly where I want to be now. I have the freedom to kind of do what I want. I'm doing something I love, you know? It's like, yeah.
Well done. I'm just going to say well done. I don't like, you know what I mean? Great. She's a we're butch, more so we're pitching her up on a pedestal right now. Sarah's an unbelievable podcast host. She's so much information and right didn't go the conventional route, which most people see as the way to go. And the idea
Yeah.
is now she's happier, now she's healthier because of the failures and the fall downs that she's had along the way. And that's what I suppose life is about. It's actually not about the perfect body, it's not about the perfect life, it's not about the perfect car, the perfect house, or anything else in between. It's literally about doing your best and making the mistakes along the way to
Yeah.
literally learn from it. You
Yeah.
learn. Failure is massively a feedback.
Yeah. And people are always like, I'll get it now as well. People say, oh my God, like you're doing so well and like you have everything together. I am literally just winging it. Like please don't think that I have my shit together in any way, shape, or form. I am literally winging it. And I think everyone is. You might look at someone and you'll say, oh my God, they really have everything together. Nobody has it together. Like people are just like taking it. I've learned that now. Like I used to really kind of always look ahead to the future, like and be like, what am I going to do in 6 months' time? What am I going to do next year? And now I've just like really taken a step back and just be like, you know, like I'll set my goals for the year and that's fine, but I'm taking everything day by day. That is it. There's no point looking ahead because sometimes I find if you look too far ahead, you start to panic then that you're not far enough along. But you're just like, enjoy the process. You know, when I started the running, that was it. Like I'd seen a quote and what was it? Enjoy the process of becoming. And then I'm just kind of like, I try to live by that now because when I look back to 2 years ago when I started the personal training, I could have never dreamed that this is what would be happening 2 years later, you know? So yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, it's been a journey. You're going good. And I suppose I just want to kind of finish on if there are three healthy habits that you want people to start, because this is, I suppose, a manageable, bite sized podcast with yourself and myself. So, what are three things you would like people to incorporate in more of in 2025?
In 2025. Okay. So one,
Number one.
just focus. People, I think, are taking like they're complicating their food way too much. If you just focus on eating a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner, just do that's all it is. There's no magic. Like if you ask like my parents have a structured eating habit. They eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, I feel like it's gotten way too complicated, you know, and then just have kind of like your little snack in the evening, whatever you enjoy. It could be chocolate, it could be crisp, it could be biscuit, sitting down, relaxing, actually enjoying it. You know, take that time for yourself. Number two, if you aren't journaling, I would start. I think it is either do it in the morning, do it in the evening, whenever suits you. Um, I do it in the same place every morning. That's my little kind of, I'll light my candles beside it, relax, just take that time for myself. And three, I would start doing an activity you enjoy. So, like, I feel like people think that they have to be in the gym and they have to be doing this and they have to be doing that. You know, I took up running because I wanted to and I enjoy it. I'm not doing it to lose weight. I'm not doing it to compete. Like, I'm just did it because I was enjoying it. I go to the gym because I enjoy it. I see people doing swimming. I would never swim because I don't enjoy it. Like, it just, you don't have to, you just have to find something you enjoy. Like, exercise shouldn't be torture. Like, it should be something you enjoy. And if you don't enjoy going to the gym, don't go to the gym. Just go out and get some steps in, get a walk in. Like, it just, whatever you enjoy, and then it will make it easier. So.
Those are actually the 3 golden nuggets we're going away with from today's podcast from Sarah. Great show. All right. God, I'll have a proper chat even after this. But where's the best place for people to reach out to you, Sarah, if they want to, I suppose, touch base with you, ask you any particular questions, and or work with you in the future going into 2025?
So my handle on Instagram is Sarah Murtha Fitness, and I always kind of encourage people to reach out, to message, even if they have any questions or anything like that. Like, I am so open to that. Like, so don't ever think, oh, I can't message her or anything like that, because there is a few coaches that I follow that I look up to, and I would have messaged them over the last like 2 years, and they would have wrote back to me, and it just feels nice. Like, if you need help or something like that, and then they give you the advice, and it's lovely. Like, I feel like we can all help each other. And then I'll have people message me, like, and they'll tell me things like, to do. Like, this I was giving out that I spend so much money on takeaway coffees, and this lady wrote to me a couple of days ago, and she was like, buy a reusable cup, and she was like, you get like 30 cents off like your coffees and stuff. Like, that is good.
Everybody sharing the healthy tips in fitness and saving money. We all need to save money.
Yeah.
Money. Send me more tips. I haven't got any tips in a while, lads. I'd love to save some money. How could
I know. Like, put all them 30 cents back into buying more coffee. So
that's so funny. Sarah, thanks so much for coming on. I'm going to say this week's show in itself, and I always end these podcasts by saying stay tuned, stay classy, and keep it organic, and get on that good stuff.